On this episode of This is Game Boy, we champion the best of platforming. Welcome everybody to a ghouly episode of This is Game Boy. I don't even know who I am anymore. I am EBC, and with me as always is Moelle.
Hello, hello.
And before we dive into this star-studded event, Moelle, what have you been up to?
Well, as everybody knows, I'm in my Spooptober month, so I've been mostly just playing spoopy games, at least on stream, and off stream a little bit as well. I finished Alan Wake plus the DLC. I really love that game. It's probably the only game I ever wanted to play that was on Xbox. Luckily, it's also available again on Steam because they had some licensing issues with the music. But yeah, amazing game. I just absolutely love it. It's right up my alley. The gameplay itself is not that like deep or original or anything like that, but just the story alone is more than enough for me to keep on going. And I'm currently also playing Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which is kind of a spin-off, kind of a sequel. I'm not exactly sure if it is supposed to be canon or not. The story is weird enough that it can be canon or it cannot be canon, so it doesn't really matter. But for people who maybe have never played Alan Wake before, definitely do so. It's just so much fun, unless you do not like story-driven games, I guess. It's not a visual novel. That's totally not it, but
I hate video games.
yes, but yeah, it's just like the story is way more important than the actual gameplay, but the gameplay is fun enough, so whatever. But yeah, on my stream, I think I talked about Haunting Ground last time, so that one's finished up. Loved that game in the end. And then I started playing The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. I'm at chapter 22 out of 24, but sadly there's a scratch on my disc and it doesn't want to load the next cutscene, so I just cannot play it. So I'll have to get that thing fixed sometime. Just harder than it should be nowadays to actually go out and do that. But yeah, hopefully I can fix that and then finish the game sometime later. So yes, put that one aside, moved into Eternal Darkness. I knew about the game, never seen it being played, but yeah, I've heard things about it. But that game is absolutely amazing. I cannot believe I've never played that game before. It's just so much fun to play. I think I'm playing it a little bit too well, though, because that game is known for the game screwing you when you lose your sanity, but I haven't really encountered that much. So maybe in the end I'm gonna have to, make myself go insane in the game just to see all the things they do, because I haven't run into anything so far, so that's kind of the point of the game, and I'm playing it too well. But it's an easy game, so, I mean, what would you expect? Besides that, besides the spoopy stuff, today I put in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 again because I need to get Platinum in that eventually. I've done everything except for getting level 100, and that is not so much fun because it's gonna take forever to just get that. The way you do that is by earning experience, by doing the challenges that are in the game. Those are all like short things that most of them are short, and they give you experience points to level up eventually. But yeah, there's like 700 plus challenges you have to do.
Jesus.
And they all give you, at least the ones I still have are like 50 experience, and you need 5,000 for one level up or something like that. So yeah, this is just gonna take forever to get, and it's not even hard or anything. It's just gonna take a lot of
tedious.
Yeah, well, it's not even that it's tedious, but it's just like Yeah, it's hard to describe. Like, going from level 1 to 50 was super easy, and now I've like stuck at in the 60s for almost a day or something. So it's
Are they like challenges that are just like do a 900 over the half pipe in the warehouse? Or do
yeah,
a
you
finger
have
flip airwalk. Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that, or the ones that I will never in my life get. It's like do 10 hours of manuals, do 10 hours of grinds and things like that. But they also don't give you much, and it's like get 10,000 flips in total. Like, nobody has time for that unless you're like competitively playing this game online or something like that. And I'm sure you will get it. But yeah, there's a lot of them tied to specific skaters, and there are a lot of skaters in there. But they all just give 50 experience, and that's just not enough. So yeah, it's gonna be forever until I finally have reached that goal. But whatever. I mean, I at least like Tony Hawk, but I know it's just gonna bore me out in the end. Yeah, besides that, Crash Bandicoot 4. I've been playing it a little bit here and there, not that much, so still haven't formed a big opinion about that game yet. I'm just having fun with it, but it has a lot of stuff in it. Like, every stage has like 10 gems, compared to the originals where it's like 1 or 2 gems for each stage. So it has a lot of content besides just beating the game. I haven't even beaten the game yet. I'm just literally constantly revisiting stages and things like that. Oh, yeah, great game. But that is the last game I was gonna buy this year, so I have plenty of time to to finish that up before the end.
You're not gonna buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla with me?
No, I will not. I will not buy anything anymore. Well, at least nothing new this year. Maybe not even anything else either, to be perfectly honest.
Never buying anything again.
Yeah, never. But yeah, I have plenty of time. There's not that much new coming out anymore because PlayStation 5 and whatever that Xbox X1, Xbox One X, X1 is gonna be. Like, I'm not interested in next gen at all for the next 2 years probably, so I have plenty of time to finally play all these games I have flying around. But yeah, it sounds like I have been playing a lot, but those were just like 5 games in total, so that's not really much. I've mostly been watching spoopy series or movies, and I'm just gonna go through the entire list. I'm not even gonna say if I liked them or didn't, but maybe if people are looking for something to watch on Halloween or something, there might be something interesting in there for you. So the 2 series I've watched are Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes and Castle Rock. And then I watched, for movies, Critters 1 through 4, Alligator, Psycho 1 and Psycho 2. So like Psycho the original from 1960, not like American Psycho, that's like the remake, I think. Demons or Demoni, because it's an Italian movie, but it's like one of those Italian movies that's dubbed in English, like from back in the day. There were a lot of those. The Fog, that's by John Carpenter, so not the new one, the old one from the 80s. Road Games, Cell, not The Cell, Cell, just Cell. Mercy from 2003, because there's another one called Mercy. Riding the Bullet, Night of the Demons, Leatherface. Don't watch Leatherface. I'm just gonna say don't watch Leatherface.
It's not good.
It is so bad. So that's the only one I'm gonna actually talk about. But yeah, just don't watch that one. And now I started The Changeling. That's the last one. I still have like 15 others lined up for the rest of the month. So yeah, I'll be keeping busy with that for sure.
You should watch The Black Sheep.
I think I might have. I'm not sure. Like, I've seen so many movies now that I always have to check IMDb if I have seen it or not.
The Black Sheep is so good. It's about sheep that turn into zombies and eat people.
I think I might have seen it. I remember
It's one of my favorites, for sure. I'll probably watch it again sometime this month.
Yeah.
It's really dumb, but...
Yeah, if I can recommend any of the things I have... Well, there's a lot of them. There are a lot of great ones. But Castle Rock, the series, absolutely amazing. 2 seasons, 20 episodes. For now, it's done, but there might be some more in the future, but nothing has been said about it. But I love that series. It's really cool. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. What have you been doing?
I have a lot of stuff. This episode's game, unfortunately, was one of them. Firewood, which is so most of these are going to be horror games as well, too, because I also play a lot of horror games during October. Firewood, which is just an indie horror game. Milk inside of a bag of milk inside of a bag of milk.
Okay.
That was it's a Russian game. So it's a Russian horror game, but not in the sense that you may think it is. It's one of those kind of like you type it out and things happen type deals. Like you remember like old MS-DOS games,
Right.
where it's like go north or pick up bag, things like that. It's very similar to that type of game. The game is very deep. You actually have to like pay attention, but it's about a woman with like multiple personality disorders, and she's like talking to herself but talking to you, and you can either be the good voice in her head or the bad voice in her head.
All right.
Yeah, it's insane. I played The Bunker, which is a horror FMV game. So it's a point-and-click FMV where you're World War III happened, or Britain got nuked, or whatever it was, and you're in a bunker for 30 years of your life, and you've never seen the outside world, and you traverse through a bunker which is leaking radiation all of a sudden.
Okay.
Little Misfortune.
Love that
Adorable game.
Yeah.
Adorable game, but it is dark.
It is very dark, yeah, but it's very funny as well.
Very funny. Especially towards the end when she starts to fart.
I remember that, yeah.
I returned to Squidlet for a little bit, just to get a playthrough of that. Red Bow, which was a really interesting Switch game. Indie horror game that's kind of reminiscent of Silent Hill. It was kind of neat.
I think I know what that is. Is it like a little kid in like a town?
Kinda. It's like a little kid where you wake up and you're in a house, and then a door is open, and you enter the door, then you enter a dream. And the dreams are foggy, they're bloody, they're all sorts of just gory, violent dreams, basically. And once you've completed the dream, you're sent back to your bed, and you wake up from the dream, and then you go through another door, and then you're in a different dream.
Yeah, that's something else that I'm thinking of then. I don't remember what I know it's a Switch exclusive as well, like an indie game, but...
Yeah, I want to play Lone Survivor, which is from the guy that did the Silent Hill 2 remake. He did a game called Lone Survivor, which is very, very, very reminiscent of the Silent Hill games, but in 2D pixel graphics. So I do want to check that out.
Yeah.
A plethora of NES games: Kirby's Adventure, Where's Waldo, Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong North and South. I introduced Mo to the American Civil War.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't even know what that game was. That's like one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, to be honest.
Then Mega Man 3. Did Settled, which is another indie horror game. My Friend is a Raven, which is a hand-drawn pixel or a hand-drawn graphic horror game about a raven that basically spreads a plague across the earth, and it's just a giant famine. You're the only human left in the world. Kind of sad, but
all right.
Yeah, it's weird. It'll be speedran probably at a very soon marathon. I finished up the platinum for Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Lineage, so it's a short film. And then I did a thing called the Kirby Shuffle. So Rosentia released a script for BizHawk, which shuffles whatever ROMs that you want to throw into a folder. It shuffles them ROMs every 5 to 30 seconds. I watched Cool Kid do Mega Man 1 through 6 yesterday, and I was like, oh, well, I know Kirby games. So I did Kirby's Dream Land 1 through 3 and Kirby's Adventure. It took me 7 hours. So, yep.
Yeah.
I did that.
I'm gonna check that shuffle out with something as well. I saw Juke Ariel play the Tiny 10-1 with the shuffle yesterday. It was really cool. I want to do something like that as well, for sure.
Imagine like Solar Striker, Gradius, and
all shmups.
Sass or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then out of that, various speedrunning and marathon submissions. I submitted 4 games to AGDQ, 4 games to Power Up with Pride, and 2 games to RGO Spooky Marathon, which got in. So I'll be running an RGO Spooky Marathon when this episode is released.
Cool.
On top of that, movies, I watched Slender Man again. That movie's terrible. Nightmare Before Christmas and Alien 2. So I've been busy, as have you. So
yeah.
So yeah. This episode is a special Halloween episode, which Mo and I were sitting there and thinking about, well, what spooky games can we have an episode about for you all? And, well, we decided to do the Dr. Franken games for the Game Boy. So, if you want to hear more about them, stay tuned after this break. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you loved that rendition of Beethoven. Release date. This game was an interesting release. So, came out in 92, December of 92 in Japan and America. I would assume in Europe as well, too.
Yeah, it would be weird if it came out before that, actually.
Yeah. Developed by Motive Time Limited. If you don't know who Motive Time is, they did such hits as Dragon's Lair The Legend, Gremlins 2 A New Batch, Micro Machines, and, of course, the one and only Paperboy. So, and Joe and Mac Caveman Ninja.
Yeah, they did ports of it. Like, they're all weird ports, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's not all... It's not like they made the games, but they always have, like, some port of it on some system that nobody has ever played before.
Yeah.
Oh.
Typically, like, they took the game and it's like, oh, there's not a version of this on the Commodore 64. Here you go. Oh, there's not a version of this on the Amiga. Here you go. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
Published by Chemco in the U.S. and published by Elite Systems Limited in Europe.
Yeah.
Chemco is an interesting company, and they've published all sorts of crazy ports and various releases as well too. Like I want to say they published. They published Mickey's Dangerous Chase. What else did they publish? They published North and South. See there? It's a port of the game, but you know what? It's still North and South. You always gotta play the American Civil War. And then composer Mark Cooksey.
Yeah.
Which, when Mo and I were doing notes for this game, and we got to the composer, we're like, Mark Cooksey. I'm like, wow, that name sounds familiar. And we looked at it, looked it up, went through all of our notes and episodes. We're like, we've talked about this person, but
yeah,
hell if we know what episode it was in.
Yeah, it's really weird because like we have all notes of all full episodes. Like there's some of the lights that we don't have, but I'm sure we talked about this guy before because you said, "Wow, that is something in the vein of that's a pretty good looking guy." And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's like a picture of like 30 years ago of him. So we have talked about it, but I cannot find when or about which game. It's so weird. So
Yeah, I probably spent 20 minutes before we started recording today just trying to figure out, and then just throwing games at Mo, like, hey, was it this game? No. Well, all right. Just kept going down the list.
yeah, it's weird. It's a Halloween miracle. No, that's not how you call it. Yeah, it's spoopy. We can't find it, and we know we talked about it. So yeah, if somebody in the comments wants to let us know when we talked about Mark Cooksey, or if we did it and we're just like having some Mandela effect or something, I don't know. Maybe we did it in another timeline or whatever, but it's weird.
If Mark is listening, I would like to ask him one question: why he decided to only have one song in Dr. Franken. But
Yeah.
but before we get into that, the plot of the game.
The plot, yeah. Which is easy to say because we actually have the manual for this game and for the other game. So let me dive right into that here. So, Dr. Franken 1. When Dr. von Frankenbone... Ha, you all thought it was Frankenstein, didn't you? But it's not, it's Frankenbone. Because, ha! Bone. Okay. So when Dr. von Frankenbone passed away and went to the great laboratory in the sky, he left behind a legacy of countless experiments. His finest creations, Frankie, a masterpiece of spare part surgery, and Frankie's girlfriend Bitsy were left to fend for themselves in their creator's castle. Unfortunately, Frankie and Bitsy were not the only creations the immoral, not immortal, because then he wouldn't be dead right now. The immoral doctor had kept secret from the outside world. Hordes of disembodied spirits and leftovers from Dr. Frankenbone's earlier failed experiments still roamed the countless chambers of the castle. Watching Frankie and Bitsy happily going about their business had driven those misfits insane with jealousy. One night, while Frankie slept, they spirited Bitsy away, dismantled her, and scattered her pieces around the vast castle and its grounds. Frankie awoke in the morning to find his beloved Bitsy gone, and himself reduced from a 7-foot giant to a 3-foot squeaky midget. Can I even say that word? Yeah, I mean, it's...
He's 3 foot?
Apparently he is. It is your quest, as Frankie, to seek out Bitsy's pieces, and in the laboratory where the doctor first created you, restore her to your sight, in one piece. Yeah, that's the plot for Dr. Franken.
She's 3 foot tall? That castle must be tiny. It's like a play castle.
Yeah. Well, thank God he's not 7 feet tall anymore, because then he wouldn't even fit on the screen, probably.
It's true. But then we could just break down the castle and not have to play the game.
That's also true, for sure.
Gameplay for this game. So, it's a very interesting idea for a Game Boy Adventure game. I will give it that.
Yeah.
You have to search, so like what the plot just insinuated, you have to search through Dr. von Frankenbone's castle to get pieces of Bitsy, and you have to collect other assortment of items like a thread, a conductor, an electrical switch, things of that nature to bring Bitsy back to, like, put her together, mend her together, to bring her back to life.
Yeah.
You'll also collect like keys and stuff too to unlock various things along the way. So while doing this, you're presented basically kind of like a puzzle. Like you're on an adventure through the castle, but most of the castle is locked at the start. So you have to know, like, okay, I need to go, or I collected this key, or I collected this item. That means now that this part of the castle is probably unlocked now. So it's one of those adventure type games where you do something to unlock other pieces of the game, and eventually you unlock the entire castle. As you collect items and pieces of Bitsy's, he has multiple girlfriends now. You'll see a completion percentage increase on your screen. This number is pretty dependent on the type of items that Frankie will pick up. If it's like a key, you get like 2%. If it's a piece of Bitsy, it's like 3 or 4%. It's dependent on the type of item. Yeah. If the puzzle wasn't enough, Frankenbone had a really bad infestation of rodents. Failed. I call them ghoulie fiends, but failed projects. Open flame, very dangerous castle,
Yeah.
and probably the most devastating enemy of them all are the barrels that fall down the steps. Yeah.
They are annoying for sure, but at least you can destroy the barrels. The weird thing with this game is that like half the enemies you can beat, but the other you can't, and they're just the ones you can are always like the most annoying in the entire game because they're like super huge or they keep like shooting you. There's like this one enemy that looks like one of the tentacles from Maniac Mansion or Day of the Tentacle that like keeps shooting you.
Oh, the thumb. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those are annoying to get through because you literally cannot destroy them at all.
The big problem with the tentacles that Mo was talking about, I called them a thumb in my playthrough, was some of them only will shoot a projectile that will damage you, but it doesn't really damage you all that much. And then there's some that shoot fireballs at you, and the fireballs do like half your health bar in one hit. And it's like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
cool. And then, yeah, the Spectres or the Ghosts or whatever that kind of just travel back and forth. Like, they're easy to dodge, but you can't kill them at all. And the hitboxes are just kind of jank, just in general. The game doesn't have iframes at all, at least from what I could tell.
True.
So if something just sits inside of your body, you just take damage until you're dead. So as you wonder, you're going to encounter all these enemies and obstacles that hurt Frankie. And as you take damage, you lose what is called energy in the game, which is essentially your health pool. To refill this bar, you got to collect lightning bolts that are scattered throughout the castle. In the higher floors, I noticed that lightning bolts are literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go 2 feet without finding a lightning bolt. But as you go down floors to like the 5th and 6th floor, which is essentially the basement and the cellar, there are almost no lightning bolts to be found. And that is the harder portion of the game as well, too. If you happen to be on the 4th floor, there is a bedroom with a recharge station that you can just pop into and spam the A button. You can't just press it once and refill your health completely. You gotta spam it and then press select to see if you have full health. And then I would recommend saving immediately afterwards.
Yeah. Well, save is like a loose term in this case. Because the game doesn't have like a battery that actually saves the game. It just shows you the password. And it's a long password because this is one of those games where like every variable can change the password. So if you have half health, it's a different password than you have like 51% health. So it does keep track of all of that. So there's like a million combinations probably, and that's why it has such a long password. Back in the days, wouldn't be much fun if you didn't have a piece of paper with you. Nowadays, of course, we can just use our phone and take a picture of it. But it's one of those annoying passwords you really don't want to put in. But yeah, whatever.
Imagine being on a road trip with your family and your little sister is punching you in the arm while you're trying to draw a heart for the password or something. It's all right. Or like, imagine having a pen and paper on a road trip.
Yeah.
In the back seat of a car. Like, I've been on many road trips in my life, and I have not once had a pen and paper with me. So
yeah, I doubt it. So.
But yeah, once you've lost all of your energy, you are dead. Then you need to punch in that long, disgusting passcode that we just talked about. Yeah. And then it puts you right back to where Frankie was. So there is that. At least there's no, like, big backtracking where, like, you put in a passcode and you have to, like, backtrack to, like, 5 different, like, rooms. You start off in the room that you got the passcode from. But you still have, whatever health that you had when you got the passcode and whatever else. So you basically just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
To get this passcode, you have to press the select button on the Game Boy or your SNES controller, whatever you're playing on. Don't play on GameCube. GameCube's terrible. Sorry, GBI people. And then at the very top it says save game. You go up there, you press A, and you get your passcode. You take a snapshot of it with your phone, or if you're old school, you write it down. This screen also is where you get to see all of your information as well too. So you get to see your health bar, your lantern, fuel bar, which we'll get to in a minute. Your inventory, so everything that you've collected throughout the game, your percentage done. Like this is one of the screens that you'll see fairly often in your playthrough. Also, if you press the start button, you'll see the map of the game. This is where the game my playthrough of the game was very different than your playthrough of the game. As I watched you play through Dr. Franken 1, every time you would enter a room, you would actually get the name of the room. Like if you went into the forge, you get the name of the room that scrolled from the bottom. When I played Dr. Franken 1, I didn't get any of that.
So yeah, I looked into that, and the two original versions of this game, the Japanese and the US one, they're literally the same ROM from what I could have seen, because they're both completely in English. So I think they just used the exact same ROM for them. They don't have that in them for whatever reason. So the room names just never show up, and I played the European version because I had a copy of the game, and yeah, then you just constantly get the room names, which is useful but also annoying at the same time, because it does block off quite a bit of the screen. It's still just the bottom. In this one, it's not that annoying actually, but it can block some enemies or things out of sight for just enough time for you to get hurt by them. So it's not that great to have it, but it is useful from an exploration point of view, because then you know at least which floor you're on, basically.
Yeah, see, I would have preferred it purely based, especially late game, for the map. So when you press start, you're presented with the map, and there's a little arrow that shows you which room you're in on the floor. The biggest problem with the map in this game is that it doesn't show the entire floor. It only shows a part of the floor. So if you're in the middle of floor 5, for example, you can't see the wings, the left or right wing of floor 5. So you either have to go way far left or way far right to see what other rooms are over there. So being able to see a room name, I could have correlated a square with one of those, because I did get lost in the end. I even pulled up maps on the computer to see what the floors looked like, and I still got lost with the maps just because I didn't know what room was what anymore.
Yeah, I remember having a lot of trouble with that as well when I played it. I think I used some online maps as well to try and figure out where I was. But yeah, the big problem with this game is, and it's hard to explain if you're not experiencing it yourself, but basically each room can have 6 exits. Not all of them do, but basically that's what can happen. You have an exit by going to the left or the right of the screen. That's normal. You can have stairs that either go up or down. Those are actual stairs that you can see. But you also have doors in rooms, and you can either press up on these doors or press down on these doors, depending if they are available, of course, and they all transport you to a different location. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense in your head how it corresponds to the map itself. Because if you look at the map, let's say you have two rows with 3 columns. Is that how you say it? Yeah. So whatever, you have 6 rooms, and you're in the middle one at the bottom row. You would think if you take the stairs in that room, going upwards, you would go up on that part of the map. So you would go to the middle square in the top row. But that's not the case because it is showing the actual floor you're on, and going up changes floors. So you're in a completely different part of the map all of a sudden. And I just could not grasp that at all. Maybe it was a problem that I had, but yeah, you would expect you to go up on the map, but you just go into a completely different part of the game. So if you want to go up, you have to like go into a door that goes up, because it doesn't mean you're going up. It means that you're like moving upwards in the same floor or something. It's baffling, absolutely baffling.
I had a similar issue with that to start. It wasn't so much that I didn't know that the steps would take, whatever. I didn't know that if I pressed up on the door that I would go up a room or up a floor. That wasn't the problem for me. The problem for me was when you got to like floor 5 and you took the steps up, you would magically appear on floor 3, but not where you would think on floor 3. Like you would go up the steps on like on a top left corner, and you would end up on like the south or like the bottom left corner of floor 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense at all. And then you'd go back down, and then you'd be back up in the top left corner of the map again. And it's like, I don't understand what is happening here at all.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of it too. Is like you have to collect these keys to go into towers, which is all fine and dandy. But it's like, okay, how do I get to this tower? Oh, I need to go to this one space, middle of nowhere, America, walk up the steps, and I magically teleport to, Transylvania in Europe on the completely other side of the map just to get to this tower. Like it just some of the stuff was just, it just didn't make sense, and the maps didn't do a really good job like connecting the points together. Like even looking at the maps online and seeing how they're layered, you can make sense on the inner squared rooms, but as soon as you get to the outside wings of the castle, it's just up in the air whether or not you're going to end up on that square or not, just because like that's just how the game worked.
Yeah, the best way to describe how the map is, it's not like in, for example, a Metroid game, or in like Symphony of the Night, like one of those Castlevania games. It doesn't. There you have like, you are viewing it from in front of you, basically the map. But in this case, you are looking at it from the sky, so it's a flat surface, and each floor stacks on top of each other. So, like, again, if you're not seeing it yourself, it's really hard to describe. But basically, if you would print out all the maps, you can't connect them by putting them next together. You have to put them on top of each other. And then it would make sense, because then you see, oh, if I go up there, I actually go up a page or to another floor. It's incredible. And it took me a long time to get the hang of that, for sure.
Yeah, the map, so when I started playing Dr. Franken 1, I didn't use the map hardly at all. I was like, oh, this map is cool, but like, why the hell do I need to use it? Because it was small. And when we get to the next game, you'll understand why I didn't use the map. But the map was super small, and I'm like, how am I gonna get lost in here? This is easy. And then towards the end of the game, I was just like, there are like 120 rooms on this floor. Like, I don't know where the hell to go. I don't even know how to get to that room. Oh, I have to go through floor 3, go to the inner square, go down 2 more floors just to get to the inner square of 5, because there's no direct path to it. Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So, use the map, pay attention to the map, understand how the map works. That's the takeaway from that.
Yeah. And you would think that is the hardest part about this game, but you would be wrong, actually. There is something even more incredibly stupid than the actual map in this game.
So, aside from the map weirdness, which, again, once you've played the game enough, you kind of adjust yourself to it, which is not a big deal. You have to listen to the Moonlight Sonata the entire time. and the repeat is jarring. It's not just a simple just blend into the next repeat of Moonlight Sonata. It's a hard stop, and then it picks up again. And it's like, oh boy, I can't wait to listen to Beethoven for 5.5 hours. The game music never changes unless you're in the title screen or in the credit screen. It's always the Moonlight Sonata throughout. So I really hope you've enjoyed Beethoven, because you're going to listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
The controls are beyond horrendous, but let's talk about the platforming on this video game. You're better off waiting for rocks to erode this castle away than you are to platform in this game, because it's going to take you just as long to get across the platforms as it would for the rain to erode the rocks away. The platforming is so precise that it's flawed to the point where if you do happen to magically land on the pixel of the platform, when you try to move and jump with Frankie, the jump has an animation which will glitch you into the platform, and sometimes Frankie will just not make the jump. On top of that, Frankie's momentum in the game is completely random, it feels. At some points, Frankie will go, or just not have momentum at all. Like, you'll press left or right and Frankie will nudge himself forward.
Mm-hmm.
And other times, Frankie will go Mach 3 speed and bust through the sound barrier as if he was just a casual jog. Which makes a highly precision platforming even harder. And on top of that, you have to do all this precision platforming to get Bitsy's head. And, well, the platforming wouldn't be bad. You're just like, oh, it's probably only like 4 or 5 platforms, right? No. You have to do platform, and then you have to jump into a screen transition and try and land onto another platform. And you have to keep doing this for like 3 screens until you get to Bitsy's head. If you fall, you have to do it all over again. It is the most. It took me 20 minutes to do two or three screens of Bitsy, and I wanted to scream.
Yep.
Because Mo was on call with me.
Yep.
When I was playing this game. Brutal.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch,
brutal.
but not a lot of fun to actually be doing it, because I literally had the same problem when I was playing this game. Just getting that item took like forever to do compared to anything else in the game. And the thing is, like, the game does not require that much precision platforming, to be honest. Like, there are just some items that are really hard to get because of it. And when it comes to Bitsy's head, that's all fine, because you know, like, oh, these are the platforms I have to jump on. I can understand what the game wants me to do because I can see where I have to go. But another weird thing about this game is, and I made a comparison to another game that I have actually never played before, but I have seen being played a lot of times, is The Wizard of Oz for Super Nintendo. And that game is notorious for just... You cannot see what is a platform and what is not a platform. Like, there is no indication whatsoever to see where you need to jump. And that's why a lot of people just never finish that game, because it's just trial and error for hours upon hours until you figure it out. And this game suffers from the same thing in a lesser degree, luckily, because you don't... It's not required for you to do it that much, but there are some rooms where you're like, oh, this item is like right above me. I can't jump that high, so I have to jump on something in this room, but I cannot see what it is. And you keep on trying, you keep falling through everything, and you're like, where in the friggin' world do I need to jump on? And then you eventually figure it out that it's like 1 pixel of one thing that you can stand on. It's just incredible how it just pulls you out of the game completely, compared to the rest of the game where the platform isn't that important, really. Oh.
Here are the 2 problems with the platforming. The platforms appear bigger than they actually are. That's one of the big issues. There's no coyote time on the platforms at all. Like, once you hit an edge, you're dropping. Like, there is no hang time or anything. You're just dropping. You're just falling. And 3 is what Mo said. You don't know what a platform is. There's a couple screens in the room aside from Bitsy's head that you have to jump on some knight armor to get to a key. But you don't know where on the knight armor you have to jump onto because it is not apparent that you have to actually jump on the knight's armor to get a key. There are things where you'll jump onto it thinking it's a platform and it's actually damaging you, like the light bulbs in floor 4. There's apparently electricity flowing through the Edison bulbs that just do a bunch of damage to you, and it's like, oh, okay, well, didn't know that because I could stand on the light bulbs in the screen before and not take damage. So, really good consistency all around. Really, really good game.
Yeah, you can argue that with the way this game is presented graphically, it is harder to make things stand out because this game actually has a lot of detail. Not the best graphical detail, but it just has a lot of detail to the rooms. It's always nice to see these things, and you really do feel like you're in one of those old-timey castles exploring and things like that. But yeah, having so much quote-unquote detail makes it harder to make things stand out by giving them even more detail. So that's probably why it's so unimaginable to see where things are, where platforms are, and it's just trial and error until you find it.
Yeah, and on top of that too, if you've ever wanted to know what Frankenstein would be like to control, or Frankie, sorry, not Frankenstein, sorry, Frankenbone, don't haunt me. Literally just play the game because the controls are exceptionally clunky and stiff, just like Frankie is. It probably, well, at least he is in the movies anyway. I've seen him. Literally, that's Frankie. Like, if you're like, wow, Frankensteins are really clunky and stiff moving, yeah, so is Frankie. It's a perfect 1-to-1 comparison there.
Yeah, it's not that bad to be honest, but it takes some getting used to for sure.
It's responsive. I will give it that. The controls are responsive. It's just the controls are stiff.
Yeah.
And then as you progress down, we have the dark. We didn't touch on the dark areas yet. The dark areas are absolutely pointless. Just not a thing needed at all in the game. You get a lantern with lantern oil to see in the dark areas, but the oil runs out in like 2 seconds. And it doesn't matter anyway because you can still see in the dark. You can still see the outlines of the doors. You can still see the outlines of the enemies, the outlines of the objects. You can still see everything. It's just slightly darker. And then you eventually get a flashlight anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, it's like, oh, I ran out of oil. I can't see. No, you can see in the dark fine. You've taken so much vitamin K, vitamin A, whatever vitamin it is to see. Frankie is just nocturnal at this point. And then you have to go into like floor. You have to go into the floor. It's called floor 7 for 3 items. 2 pieces of Bitsy and a switch, but and then you basically never see much for dark after that, except for like the wine cellar and just various different rooms. But regardless, easy peasy. But once you've collected all the pieces, dodge the barrels falling from the steps because there's some jerk throwing them down there. You have one last task in the game, which this actually took me probably a half hour to remember where this room was. And it was to go back to the laboratory on floor 6 and flip a switch to bring Bitsy back to life. And you get a pretty sweet cutscene of the weather vane getting struck by lightning and Bitsy coming to life. But once you do all that, it's GG. You don't listen to the Moonlight Sonata anymore, and you did it. You played a video game.
Yeah. That's the end, and there's nothing more to it, actually. Yeah. The only thing we haven't touched upon is how you basically defend yourself. Like I did say, like you can only destroy like half of the enemies that you encounter in this game. But you start out with basically shooting lightning bolts out of your arm. which is a fine weapon. Like, it does what it needs to do.
It's the best weapon in the game.
But there are indeed different weapons, but you don't want them. They are completely useless. Like, the lightning basically crosses the entire screen. Not, I don't think entirely, but at least like a fair amount of the screen. And all the other weapons don't. So why would you even use the other weapons?
No, the lightning does the full screen, and then you can get a reverse weapon where you shoot it in front of you, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
But that only goes half of the screen.
Yeah.
So you're better off just keeping your base weapon and just using it because it's better.
Yeah. Plus, most of the time you're just gonna run through enemies or just dodge them anyways. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, like, the fighting mechanic is not that very important in the game.
It's not a focus at all.
Especially,
like, you use it a handful of times.
Yeah, especially not because you do have a pretty big health bar in this game, to be honest. And you can find so many recharges, or you can find a recharge room that will help you out. And once you know where to go, you can just use that to your advantage to like stock up on some health. I believe if you find a room which has like the lightning bolt, which is the health pickup item, I think if you go 2 rooms away from it and then go back, it respawns anyway. So there's plenty of ways to keep you healthy throughout the game and not worry
and
too much about
most of the things don't really hurt you all that much either. Like, you have a big health pool, sure, but like most of the things do a fraction of your health bar. It's the thumbs that shoot the fireballs that do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Or the things that like stay inside your hitbox because they move slow.
Yeah.
Because there's no iframes. So
yeah, that is a big problem. Like, there are a few like spike sets that you can fall into. Those are not fun to fall into.
Water
And
is
water.
your biggest enemy.
Yes.
Oh, Frankie does not like taking baths. Just straight up. He would rather be smelly.
Yeah. Well, he is a monster, so yeah, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that about wraps this game up, really. Like, if you're still not sure what this is, just think of an old adventure, like point-and-click adventure game, but combined with a platforming game, basically. A not good platforming game, but it is still a platforming game.
If you've ever played Hugo on the MS-DOS, think of that, but with platforming. I'm old. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I don't know.
If you've never played Hugo on MS-DOS, go play it. But it's an amazing series.
I don't know about that, but
what? Hugo and the Tropical Island?
I have
Hugo and the Witch Doctor?
Yeah, no idea.
Oh man. Cover art quick for Dr. Franken 1. Japanese has the best one.
Well,
No,
Japanese
has
EU has the best one because it's basically the same one.
Oh, yeah, I see, yeah. No, Japanese still has the best one. Okay, yeah, you're right, they're the same.
Yeah.
I had to scroll down.
Yeah.
Yeah, Japanese EU have the best one. It's a cartoony Frankie standing in front of a moonlit window with a skeleton boy coming through the window and a bat or a Storfmoose if you're hero. Frankie has something in his hand. It looks like a shaken Coca-Cola bottle that's spewing Coke smoke into the sky.
I'm pretty sure that's just a torch.
There's a knight standing next to another door with a big spider coming through it, and I'm talking big.
Yeah, I would not like to see that.
There's a grandfather clock right next to him as well too. Frankie's like leaning back with his slippers and his pajamas on, saying, "Oh no, there's a skeleton coming through my window." That's that one.
Yeah,
and then the American one is dumb. It's just dumb. It looks slightly hand drawn. It says Dr. Franken in hot pink, and it's like the paintbrush Dr. Franken written style. Mm-hmm. Think of early '90s, right? And then it has Frankie with a really long cylinder head with some really low ears, like your very traditional generic looking Frankenstein monster. And then behind it is this window with lightning bolts coming down and gargoyles, which I don't think I saw a single gargoyle in the game. And then there's like the gothic peaks above the window. Yeah. It's kind of grungy looking, like it's really dull. The Japanese and European version are much more colorful and much more appealing to look at, especially with the exploding Coke can. So.
Yeah, the US one is, if you think of Frankenstein, this is what you expect to see. And like this game is a goofy take on Frankenstein, so yeah, the Japanese European one actually makes that very clear. I think I like the coloring of the European one a little bit more than the Japanese one, unless it's just a bad scan. It might just be a bad, of course,
scan,
but
because it is definitely overexposed in the Japanese version.
But yeah, I think that EU one is looking pretty fine. Like that's no, I'll dive into that later. Never mind.
That's why it has the seal of quality from Nintendo.
Yeah.
All right. It's a very important sticker to have on your game.
Yeah.
Trivia. I didn't find any trivia about this game. I didn't find reception for the Game Boy game. So
nope. All I know is that I think this one did have like its own 8-page spread in Nintendo Power. So at least the first one was well known.
The
I
Game
guess.
Boy had an 8-page spread.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty sure it's the first.
Nintendo cares about Game Boy.
Yeah, I made that document with all the thingies. Did we ever talk about that? I don't remember, actually. But...
Dear Nintendo, please make Dr. Franken 3. So yeah, Nintendo Power. That's I didn't know about the Nintendo Power thing.
Yeah.
I know the SNES game got a lot of choice words associated with it. So choice that James Ralph or AVGN made an episode about it. So
really,
he does play Dr. Franken in one of his episodes.
Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, should look that up again then. Yeah.
He says some really good things about it. Really positive.
I can assume.
Review.
Yeah, he's known for his positive reviews of video games. Absolutely.
The happy video game nerd. Anyway, with that, we're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we will talk about Frankie's Big Adventure. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and enjoy this amazing second song we will play for you. Hope you like it. And welcome back, everybody. I really hope you've enjoyed that song from Beethoven. Really, Beethoven was just a one-hit wonder in a way. So we're about to get a lot of flack for that. Well, the good thing for Beethoven was that he never had to listen to his own music anyway. So.
It's true. So true. Well, his later music, in a way, he didn't have to listen to. Got him. Well, all right. Well, that's the end of this podcast episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
It's fine. He will never find out that we said this.
there went those 10,000 listens. The next game is well, if you thought Frankie was done getting bitsy, think again. Frankie makes his valiant return in Dr. Franken 2, which was released in Europe in November of 1993, and in the U.S. October of 1997. 4 years later.
Yeah, we've been trying to look up more information about how that happens, but there is none. But it's really weird. Like, never ever
weird.
seen that before. So far apart from each other, and like I checked with Lex because she has more of the technical side of video games at her disposal, and it literally is the same ROM. As well, which is also weird because the European version had like 7 different languages, like it has Dutch, English, Swedish, French, and so on. And they just released the exact same game in the US. So it also has all those language options. And besides Spanish, I doubt that it would make any sense to do that.
Wow. Are you saying that we are uncultured because we don't have multiple languages?
No, I am not. I am saying that you people do not need all those languages to begin with. So yeah, it's very weird. And what's even weirder, I guess, we talked about like the publishers for this game. The developer is still Motive Time Limited, so the same people who made it. But this game got published by Jellico in Europe. And by Elite Systems Limited in the US. So Elite Systems did the first one in Europe, and now they did this one in the US, which also does not make very much sense to do so. But yeah, Camco is out this time around, at least.
But there is one consistent in this game. Mark Cooksey is still the composer of the game.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mark. Maybe we can have more than one song this time, huh?
I actually don't remember. And I played this like 3 weeks ago,
either.
so I actually do not remember, which is not a good sign, at least. But yeah, I don't know if he made like original songs actually. Maybe.
Probably not. Yeah. Franken was his one-hit wonder.
But yeah.
Plot. Wow, this is a long plot. Holy smokes.
Yep.
I'll do the plot. All right. Stretch a little bit. It is many years since Dr. Von Frankenbone passed on, and Frankie is in a big trouble now. The late doctor's castle, where Frankie has spent many happy years with his girlfriend Bitsy, is crumbling and badly in need of repair. If his problems weren't already enough, the electricity company... the electricity company had finally caught up with him and presented him with a huge bill. Frankie's only hope is to find the late doctor's lost treasure, a golden tablet depicting the image of Bitsy, famed throughout the land, but now scattered and lost. Drastic situations call for drastic measures. Frankie has fled Von Frankenbone's castle and is sheltering in the doctor's hidden chateau. Unhappy at the thought of an uncontrolled monster on the loose, the local villagers have locked him in. It is your quest as Frankie to search the chateau for clues to the whereabouts of the lost fortune and to escape captivity so that you may search the estate grounds and beyond. From the depths of the ocean to the pyramids of Egypt, Frankie is going on an adventure. Only after much traveling may you return to pay off your debts. Frankie is back with new levels, new challenges, but hurry, time is running out.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your plot.
That is indeed the plot. Not what you would have thought it would be.
It's a lot more in depth than the first one.
Yeah, but in short... the
bills.
repo guy is in front of the chateau's door and he's gonna take your stuff. that is literally...
Oh, that makes sense why there's a person knocking on the door
it's the repo man.
Time.
Yeah.
Oh, now it makes so much sense.
But yeah, that is exactly the first thing you see in this game when you load it up. It's like some guy knocking on the door trying to take all of your possessions away. And yeah, like the plot said, you're locked inside of the castle, or the chateau in this case, which is basically French for castle anyways. But yeah, you have to escape and go look across the entire region and Egypt for some reason to to basically get money so you can pay off the repo man. Yeah. Again, the game does not take itself too seriously in its regard.
Moral of the story is pay your bills.
Yeah.
If you wanted to play a video game to get away from being an adult, well, don't play it. It's fun.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a continuation of one, literally.
Yep.
You make your way, instead of just being stuck in the castle, you now get to go outside. But you still have to do certain tasks to unlock certain things.
Yeah. Yeah, you start off in the chateau, but soon enough, if you can make your way through it, it's only a few rooms you have to do this time to actually get outside. But then basically the world opens up. You're in a hub zone where you can go through the different regions in this game, and those are the town, the garden, the forest and the mines, the ocean and the submarine, and Egypt. So at least the game offers a lot of variety this time with its location, so you're not always stuck in that medieval castle for the entire game. But besides that, it's basically the exact same game, kinda, but with different quote-unquote puzzles this time around. There's a few differences with this game. Last game, you had basically one life to get through it. This time you actually have 3 lives. And that also just means that your HP bar is a lot shorter this time and you will die a lot faster. Sadly, you can't find a bunch of health restoration items through the game. There are literally none, which is not fun, let me tell you. It's one of the less good things about this game for sure. You can find, however, a shield in certain locations that give you like 30 seconds of invulnerability, which helps a lot, because just like in the last game, killing enemies is really not a thing you want to be doing much. You rather just fly through them as fast as you can. Because in this game, you can even defeat less enemies than in the previous game. For some reason, you can only kill 3 different enemies in this game, and the rest are all invulnerable.
The real kicker of the game too is like what Mo said. There's no lightning bolts to pick up, so you have to use the recharge room. But in this game, you have to find an item first before you can use the recharger.
Yeah, and that is a lot of fun, let me tell you, because I totally missed it when I started playing this game, so it took me a long time to get familiar with where everything was, and then I kept dying over and over and had to basically restart the game, because you don't want to lose your lives at the start of the game. You just want to start all over again and try to do better, of course. Game still offers the password system just like last time, so it's completely the same in that regard. But just not having that health restoration is a big deal, and yeah, it's just, you have to go do that thing first. The thing about this game is that there are quote-unquote different ways throughout the game. It's a little bit more open in that regard than the last one. In the last one, you really had to use that item to move on, and then you get the next item, and so on and so on. In this one, you can explore a little bit more, but you will get stuck at some point, and then you have to go back and explore another world to to get another item. And it's not like you just go to one place, find everything, and go to the second place. It's really like, oh, I do this now, then I can go back there, and so on and so on. You do not get that many clues as to what certain items do, really. Especially not if you're like me and you're still pressing buttons while picking up an item. And whatever button you press when the prompt comes up that you picked something up and it gives you a little hint to what it does. But yeah, I just basically constantly skipped through all of these and I had no idea what I just picked up or what it was doing. But again, it's not that big of a game or a world, to be honest, and it will make sense what certain things do after a while. So at least that is good.
They did keep a lot of the base game, Franken 1, in with Franken 2. So like what Mo said, like the password system's still the same. Like it also shows you like the percentage completed as well too. Literally all of that stuff is basically the same. Even the platforming is the same. It's actually probably even better in this game, where you just can't see the platforms now that you have to jump on. Especially when you're in the forest.
Yeah, the forest is the most fun place in this game for sure. That one drove me absolutely nuts. There's two things you need to do in the forest. It's first get a ladder, I think, that you need for something in the town. I still don't know what it actually does because you never use an actual ladder, so I'm still not sure what it unlocks, but you can go to that town at least. But besides that, there are also like 10 things you have to collect in the same place, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun trying to figure out that you can stand on things that are not even platforms. So and yeah, the jumping is just as fun as in the last game when it comes to tight platforming. If you had some trouble getting that Bitsy hat, you're gonna have a lot of trouble getting all the items in the forest area.
The big problem with the platforms in the forest is A, you just can't see them, and B, they are like the size of Frankie's toe.
Yep.
They are exceptionally tiny. And remember, like, this is precision platforming. This is not just I randomly jumped to the flat platform and I clipped into the corner. This is, if I don't land on, like, the 2-pixel window, I am falling through the platform. And you have to use these platforms a lot to get those 10 items in the forest. And you learn to be a skilled platformer by the end, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It will infuriate you.
Yeah, but just like the last game, this is the only time you're ever gonna actually use those skills, because the rest of the game you just don't need those anymore at all. So they always like to put one of those in there, just I think to piss people off and not play the rest of the game for some reason.
As you do.
Yeah.
I wonder if the devs are just like, oh yeah, we got to this platforming section and they did it, and we're like, well, that sucked. We'll never do that again, and then just put no more platforms in. But they didn't want to rethink that section because that's too much work. So,
yeah, like you like it, you can hear it. It's basically more of the same than the last game. It would be a good thing to like just play through these two right after each other, because then you're still in the mindset of how these games work. So that's a good thing to do. But yeah, like I said, absolutely find that health restoration thing first. And just to give you a tip, do the thing with the forest first. That's
do the forest first.
Yeah. So once you've done that, you should be fine.
I will say Dr. Franken 2. Like, if you wanted to choose between one of the two, I would honestly say Dr. Franken 2, just because there's more to look at. But if you do play 1, appreciate the detail of 1. 1 has a ton of detail to a fault. It's actually pretty impressive how detailed the games actually are for how janky they actually play. So.
Yeah, there's one thing that is very good about this game, but again, you will have to find it first. this game offers you a teleportation device, which you can just place anywhere you want to. And if you need to go back to that place, you can just go into your menu and you will teleport back to it. The way I used it, because in my opinion that was like the only useful thing to do with it, was to just literally put it next to the health restoration machine. So when I knew I was gonna die, I could just go back there and recharge. Because unlike the previous game where it's like this really big castle with 230 rooms, actually, the first game. This one is a little more compact, like all the areas do not have that many rooms in them. So it's always best to just go back to the restoration and then just retrace your steps of what you are doing, basically.
Yeah, and plus, like, once you leave the chateau, I mean, like Mo said, like it's a hub world at that point.
Yeah.
So it's actually not all that bad to get back to where you were.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty quick.
The sad part about the hub world is that it's filled with enemies you cannot defeat. Yep. There's only one enemy in that entire place that you can actually destroy. And then there's like bunnies that you can't destroy. Like, it's super annoying. They're super annoying enemies. But the good thing about the way out of the chateau is that there is a shield that you can grab just before the exit, and then you can make it your way through the hub world itself as well.
Yep. But yeah, you get your you get your tablet, you pay your debts, and the guy walks away, and
that's the end of the game.
You live happily ever after until the next month where you have to go find something else to get though.
Yeah.
So, like, is Frankie gonna get a job?
Who knows?
Like,
we never got a sequel, so
we never got a 3. Frankie isn't Dr. Franken 3, the accountant. All right. Box art. So I mean, yeah, there's not much more to talk about Dr. Franken 2. It's basically one a little bit more expanded upon. Crazy story, much more in-depth story, but not much more in-depth gameplay. Yeah. But the box art at least is baller. So, the box art for this is the same font used for Dr. Franken 1, but now it has a Roman numeral 2 at the end of it. The box art is the same for Europe and America. And it's the cartoon version of Franken, or Frankie. It's not the weird, gross-looking one that we had before. It's Frankie on a flying carpet in some tropical swim pants and a white t-shirt. Big chillin' on this flying carpet, flying over the pyramids in Egypt, and there's a castle or a chateau right there. There's some snowy Alps. There's some big old koi fish jumping out of the water. There's a submarine. There's a bee right next to Frankie getting ready to sting him in the eyeball. There's a couple of birds behind Frankie staring at his rear end, and then there's a moon, full moon, way off in the background. It's actually a fairly well detailed cartoon rendition of Frankie flying a magic carpet. And the coloring is actually really nice to it as well too. It's actually a really interesting looking cover for how basic it kind of looks as well. Like, it has a lot of detail, but it's also basic at the same time.
Yeah. It looks really nice. Like, you would not know what this game is by looking at the cover at all, but yeah, it basically
you would almost think it's Mario Land 1.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it basically shows the overworld of the game, but only 3 sections of it. So not all of them. You just have Egypt, you have the ocean, and that sinking ship. I guess it's not a submarine. I guess it's just a sunken ship.
It's a sinking ship. Yeah,
and then the castle. Those mountains, the Alps or whatever, they don't show up in the game, so I guess they just put something there to have something there. But yeah, you can see that Frankie is indeed going on an adventure. That's pretty cool.
It just reminds me a lot of the Super Mario Land 1 cover, where like Mario is in the foreground and behind him is the Stonehenge heads, the angry pharaoh cat thing, and Tatanga and everything. Like, it shows everything behind Mario, like what you're about to hopefully encounter. This cover reminds me of very much of that as well too, where Frankie is in the foreground and then behind him is literally everything that you are probably going to encounter.
Yeah.
But yep.
Yep.
Yep, that's Dr. Franken too.
Yep, pretty much all we can say about it.
Any questions?
Like, we don't have to go into detail because we already did it with the first game, and it's basically just a continuation of it. And yeah, just like the last game, no trivia is available for it. I guess it's not that interesting to have trivia on to begin with. Not much is known by the general reception either. Like, I mean, they got a sequel, so I guess the first one did sell enough for them to actually dive into a sequel, but you never hear anything about these games, really. Nobody will say, oh, have you played this game? That won't come up in a conversation. So, yeah, I guess they just made it, and for some reason, 4 years later, they re-released it. So, well, weird. Very weird.
Yeah, I have no idea. But I don't think there was I don't know if there was a Dr. Franken 2 on the Super Nintendo or not, but the Super Nintendo Dr. Franken is basically Dr. Franken 1. Like, Frankie doesn't leave the castle in the Super Nintendo version either. So, I don't think there was a Dr. Franken 2 on the SNES. I think it was just the Adventures of Dr. Franken, and that was it. Which, by the way, he does a Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin music in the Super Nintendo version instead of shoots lightning bolts. So,
all right.
It's really it's good stuff. But yeah, outside of that, I couldn't find any reception either, any trivia. Maybe that's why we didn't get a Dr. Franken 3. No one wanted to go to Egypt in this game. So. Everyone got fed up, but no one beat the game because they couldn't get past the forest.
Probably, yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah, but yeah, both these games are like 4-hour games, I would say. They're not super long or anything. It's just trying to figure out how everything works, and at least for the second game, for me, the maps I didn't even use the map in this one. It was just a lot easier to figure out where to go compared to the first one. So it was just a little bit harder because of how the health system works. But yeah.
Yeah, the game was much more linear. But yeah, I maybe opened the map a couple of times, but I didn't like actively use it like I did with the first one. So, but yeah, when we come back, we'll give you some thoughts and history of the game. We've already given you some thoughts, but boy, do I have more for these games. So yeah, stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Really hope you enjoyed the song from Beethoven. There, he had a lot of remakes of Moonlight Sonata. Mo, we'll start with you. Thoughts and history with the video game.
Yeah, so like I didn't really know this game at all, but once upon a lifetime when I was going through bargain bins at one of the gaming expos, I just saw these two games and I thought the covers looked cool. And they were like $3, so I was like, yeah, I'm taking these with me. So I didn't immediately play them, but I did play the first one, I think last year or maybe 2 years ago for my Spooptober month. And then like now I played the second one. And yeah, even though I had a lot of troubles with especially the first one, trying to figure out where to go and things like that, I did enjoy playing these games for what they were. like we mentioned it, that it's a very interesting concept to have for a Game Boy game, because there are not that many games like this, and I think they really came from the perspective of having like a point and click adventure style game, but trying to convert it in such a way that it would actually be enjoyable to play on a portable system. Because I made a comparison earlier with that Day of the Tentacle Maniac Mansion enemy, but like, even though Maniac Mansion is a really good game on NES, I just do not want to play it because using an NES controller as a mouse is just very unpleasant to me. So yeah, I wouldn't really like doing that. I like watching people play the game, so that's fine and all. But yeah, I don't think those games should have been made for home consoles or portable consoles. And I think there is one game like this on Game Boy, but I can't remember which one it is. But I'm glad they went with more of a platforming style in this case. To just make it a lot more quote-unquote enjoyable to play. But yeah, I love playing through both of these. Like, I had a lot of fun with them, and they're not especially great games or anything like that, but I think everybody should at least give them a try. And if you can, get over the fact that the map doesn't make any sense at first, or that the platforming is absolutely horrendous, I think other people would enjoy this game as well, for sure.
Yeah, my first ever interaction with the Dr. Franken franchise is was on Super Nintendo as a kid. I played Dr. Franken on the SNES. I played a bit more SNES than anything as a kid. Game Boy in the car, but SNES if I was at home. But it was about what you would expect, but it was on the SNES. You get the high kick. The music on the SNES version is jamming hard too. Frankie has sunglasses on. He's like dressed in like skateboarding and street clothes. Like, Frankie knows what's up in the SNES version. So when I found out that there was a Dr. Franken for Game Boy, or rather I kind of knew there was one because I saw it in the rental store, I was like, oh, neat, a Game Boy version of Dr. Franken. But I didn't play it at the time. I was just like, cool, he's probably wearing sunglasses or whatever else. And I saw that dopey looking cover art that it had too. But I remember liking, sort of in a very weird way, liking Dr. Franken for the Super Nintendo. So I saw there was a Dr. Franken 2 on the Game Boy a couple years ago. And I was like, oh, sweet! I remember really liking Dr. Franken on Super Nintendo. We never got a sequel for SNES, so I'm like, I really wonder what Dr. Franken 2 on Game Boy was. And boy, howdy, did we go from somewhat okay gameplay to atrocious really quick. I absolutely hated Dr. Franken 2 with pure unadulterated. I thought it was just pure unadulterated garbage, just plain and simple. I was because I had this thought in my head that, oh, Dr. Franken on the SNES, it will be probably a similar game for the Game Boy. It's not. They're very different games. I can't compare. You can't compare the two. Like, yeah, okay, they take place in a very similar scenario, but they're two very different games. Dr. Franken on SNES is slippery, super fast, does sweet chin music, wears sunglasses. Like, he was hip. Like, that was the game targeted for teenagers in the 90s. Dr. Franken for the Game Boy, I don't know who the target audience was for that at all after playing it. The platform in the woods really, really, really put a sour taste in my mouth. To the point where I tried to play Dr. Franken on SNES again, and I was so badly tainted by Dr. Franken 2 that I didn't like the SNES version all that much anymore, and I couldn't even finish it. And then when we decided to do a Halloween special this year, we decided to do the Dr. Franken game since I think Mo did, or at least touch base on a bunch of horror games last year, like the Castlevanias and the Kid Draculas and stuff like that. So I was super dreading having to play the first Dr. Franken because I hated the second one, and it made me not like the SNES version anymore. So I'm like, I can't imagine how bad the first one is going to be. And I played it, I've played it. I've played enough Game Boy games to know as well too. If the sequel is bad, the base game is probably not all that great either. And I was about right. I got to listen to Moonlight Sonata for about 5.5 hours. I would say the only thing that I took away from it was that my precision platforming was a bit better because I knew what to expect from Franken 2. It still wasn't great, and I still got frustrated, but I remembered from Franken 2 how bad the platforming was. So I had a little bit of a heads up going into Franken 1 from that. But I still didn't like the game. I liked the idea, I liked the concept, but I really did not like the execution of it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I saved Bitsy. That's all. I saved Bitsy and I paid the bills. All right.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you need to do. Yeah. I just think like if I would have played this game 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, or like before I started the entire portable pleasure thing, trying to beat all the Game Boy games, if I would have played it back then, I would have not played it for more than 10 minutes. I know that. But having done so many games now, and having done some pretty shitty games, I can honestly say, like, yeah, this is pretty mediocre. I mean, it's not great, but I at least enjoy playing it compared to some other games that are either completely unfair, to be able to beat them, or games that are absolutely just not a game to start with. So yeah, these two games are somewhere in the middle for me. Like, I don't mind playing anything like this, but would I recommend it immediately? No, I would not do that, but I think it's definitely worth checking out if you know what you're running into, basically.
I would say I would recommend it on the grounds of play it for a half hour to understand how the game plays. It's like I said, it's a really cool idea, and the concept is there. It was just executed very poorly. And it's a fairly unique Game Boy game. It's an interesting idea. Like I said 100 times already. I would say check it out for 20-30 minutes. But then just turn it off. Don't kill your ear holes with Moonlight Sonata for 5.5 hours. Out of the two, I as much as I complained about the first one, I actually liked the first one more than the second one. Because it kept, even though like there were a ton of rooms and the castle was huge, it kept me in one area. Even though I had to use a map as well too. It kept me confined to the castle. Franken 2, like, it was nice to see other things, but I felt like it just got a little. They added a bunch of stuff to add a bunch of stuff. Like, they're like, well, we can't have a Franken 2 be in the castle again. Like, what are we gonna do, right? So, well, let's have Franken go to Egypt. Let's have him go on the sunken Titanic. Let's have him, do this and this and this or whatever. Well, Dr. Franken in the books and in the movies, the people are Frankenstein's monster. People are always after him because it's a monster on the loose. So the people should be attacking him. So then they started taking things from like the novels and the movies and kind of just started merging everything into one game. And then it's like, well, video games need to have multiple levels instead of just one big one. So now we need to introduce, other worlds into this. It seemed like they didn't know the direction that they wanted to go with Franken 2, but it was definitely going to be a Franken 2. So they kind of just like took a bunch of stuff and just mixed and hodgepodge something together. I personally thought Franken 2 was the worst of the two games, simply just because of the direction the game went, even though it was practically the same game.
Yeah, I feel a little less invested in the second one as well. Like, nothing really, like, okay, in the first one, nothing really matters either, but you get to know the castle, and the plot is basically no plot. It's just put back your Bitsy again. That sounds so weird when you say that out loud.
Put your girlfriend back together.
But yeah, in the second one, it's more like, okay, well, I guess I'm looking for these stone tablet thingies.
The second one is I gotta pay my bill.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed, but the areas are, it's nice to see them, but they don't hold as much significance as quote unquote different kind of areas in the first game.
Yeah, I agree. The first game you could actually get into it. Like, you can immerse yourself into the first game because it's just a castle, and you can kind of visualize like being in a castle, especially as Frankie. Like, you can really get immersed, except for getting Bitsy's head from the platforms. All of that aside, you can really get into the game. With Franken 2, is you're transitioning from so many different worlds, like that immersion is actually just gone at that point, especially since you can just teleport in that game too once you find the item. Like, a lot of that immersion and charm from the first one is just gone in the second one. So yeah. Speedrunning, there's no speedruns, there's no leaderboards on speedrun.com. I bet this game both of them would be kind of fun to speedrun. The platforming would be exceptionally frustrating, but I think outside of the platform, I think these games would actually be a decent fun route to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, so.
Yeah, especially in the first one, I'm kind of wondering, because these games are definitely not programmed that well. But I didn't run into any like real glitches or anything, but I kind of have a feeling there might be a way to like go out of bounds in this game and like go to the places you need to be faster or something. I feel like that might be a possibility, especially in the first one and the way it is set up to be. So might be cool to look into that if people are interested in that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't do any glitch hunting in my playthrough, but the game is janky enough where there's got to be something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game breaking in that game. So, but with that, we're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about some community events coming up. We have a decent amount, and any questions that you may have asked about a generic game that we didn't tell you about. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back everybody. I really hope you really liked that rendition of Moonlight Sonata from Beethoven. One of the lesser known songs of his catalog. So, community events related to Game Boy. We have a few. So we have Retro Gaming Live TV, or RGL TV. We have their Spooky Marathon coming up on Halloween weekend. So
it is going on right now, basically.
Yeah, so when this episode is released to all of your ear holes, RGL will be having the...
No, next week.
Halloween.
Next week. Because this one is... Yeah. This one comes out a week before Halloween, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, there you go. Now you all have a week advance to know about this Halloween weekend marathon put on by RGL TV. I will actually be running 2 games in that spooky marathon. I'll be playing Settled and Red Bow for RGL Spooky Marathon. They will also be having a Castlevania Knockout one night only tournament during the first night as well too. So definitely give that a check out. Those knockout one night only tournaments are actually super fun to watch. I watched the Marble Madness one a week or so ago.
Yeah, I watched the one before that as
weeks
well.
ago
I don't remember what it was. Oh, Chip and Dale. Yeah, that was fun as well.
Ooh. And then keeping on with RGL TV, they're having a Contra knockout one night only tournament on November 22nd. So if you're big into Contra, have a time into Contra, or just want to watch some Contra, definitely tune in November 22nd to Retro Gaming Live TV on Twitch for that. Otherwise, we have the Tiny 10 coming up November 21st. So the reveal will be when this episode is launched, since
we'll probably
I have my timings wrong.
launch the episode after the reveal, but yeah. Tiny 10
Yeah.
11 will be at November 21st.
That will also probably be on Retro Gaming Live
Yes.
TV, if I remember right. Yeah. Then we have Power Up with Pride Winter Edition, December 11th through the 13th. I submitted 4 games to that, all horror games. So I'm really hoping just to have a horror block that's just me.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then we have AGDQ 21, which will be an online GDQ again, January 3rd to January 10th. I submitted 4 games. I submitted 4 games to this. 2 of them were Game Boy.
Nice. Those will definitely get in.
Especially Shaq Fu.
Maybe.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Probably not, but Shaq Fu? Got it, man. Give me that bad block. Give me that awful block slot. I'm ready for it. Shaq Facts on the big stage. I'm ready for it. There's probably some other stuff that's coming up as well too in the community. It's just it's so hard to keep track of a lot of this stuff right now because of COVID-19. Like, everything went to online. There's a bajillion marathons happening now, like more than normal, because people are wanting to, donate to charities or help people that are having a hard time, with the economy of COVID-19, everything else. Like, they're trying to do good things, but there's just so many marathons happening right now. It's really hard to keep track of everything. Yeah. But these are some of the bigger ones that I'm aware about or am involved with. There is also a secret event that potentially might be coming up in February of next year, which I can't tell you all yet about.
All right.
Not even Mo knows about it. That's how secret it is. And I tell Mo all of my secrets. Listener questions. Let's see here. Well, there's a ghouly animated GIF. Let's see. Game Boy Splatterhouse would have been sweet. I will probably admit that.
That is true. Yeah.
Lack of Game Boy Halloween games. No, there's enough.
Yeah.
There's
just go back to my lights on it. There's really a lot of them that are at least horror-inspired games. So,
I mean, Mole Mania's creepypasta.
Yeah, that's
can make Mole Mania a horror game though. Holy smokes, that creepypasta is something else. Maybe I'll make a YouTube video of me just reading it in a very dark a very deep voice. We have Ace Ventura doing a little dance. That's good. That's good. Jinbei literally translates into worst nightmare ever. Yeah, can confirm that one. Jinbei is a nightmare to fight against. So, yeah. So really nothing else.
No.
There are plenty of not Halloween specific games, but spooky, horror-y type games. Can I say horror-y? Well, we are now. So.
Too late, unless it gets cut. But yeah.
PG-16 now. There are plenty. You got the 3 Castlevanias, Kid Dracula, Dr. Franken's. Like, there's so many of them. They all take place. Bram Stoker.
Yeah, neat. Avenging Spirit.
There's a bunch.
Bubble Ghost.
Bubble Ghost, Avenging Spirit.
I don't remember the other ones I talked about because I don't have my notes on that anymore because back then I was just still winging it, really.
Winging it like I was doing. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. Just go back and listen to the previous episode that Mo did. I believe it was a light episode even too, so you don't have to listen to my dumb voice. So yeah, with that said, thank you all for taking the time to listen to this amazing Halloween special episode of This Is Game Boy. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, feedback, we love to hear it, whether it's negative, neutral, or positive. Always looking to better the podcast as much as we can, whether it's hardware, software, or just entertainment value in general, which I think Mo and I give you all plenty of good entertainment.
Hopefully, yes.
No, we do. Especially our Beethoven jokes are top notch. So, yeah. You can find me on Twitch TV /eBloodyCandy. Welcome back. At eBloodyCandy on Twitter. And on YouTube. I actually have a YouTube URL with eBloodyCandy because I am an old boy on YouTube, so I got to keep my URL. There's not much for videos up there right now. There are some Game Boy Adventure stuff, but I'm in the process of revamping that YouTube page again as well. You can find our lovely producer, SprintingLegs, at SprintingLegs on Twitch. Legs, I think, or SprintingLegs on YouTube. I think it's just legs, right? Yeah. And Legs in the Discord here. Yeah. Where can they find you, Mo?
They can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, all /Moelle, which is MoELLEUH. And you can also find SprintingLegs on Twitter, actually, as SprintingLegs. But yeah. That's pretty much.
I forget she has a Twitter at times.
She doesn't post much on it. But yeah, besides that, if you want to support the podcast, there are a few ways to do that. The free way is by just listening to the episodes and even maybe rating them on whatever platform you are using. We're on a bunch of them because they all just use an RSS feed to actually pull our episodes in. But yeah, definitely give us a rating or write a little review or anything like that, and then the word gets spread that we exist and more people will listen to it, and that's always useful. You can also just, of course, bug your friends and family and make them listen to the podcast until they actually like it, and then they're hooked for life, so that's a good idea.
True.
But yeah, what you can also do if you want to help us out with some sweet money, we have two ways you can do that. First off, we have a Patreon where you can get into two tiers at this moment, just the $1 tier or the $5 tier, and those will give you access to like behind the scenes stuff like our episode notes, some special channels in our Discord, which contains like bloopers and things like that sometimes get put together in one long quote-unquote episode by Lex. And there are a few other benefits that will definitely happen in the future, but we don't have enough patrons for that yet to actually start getting those out there. But yeah, if we ever hit $20 a month, that's at least our first goal, because that would cover a lot of the costs that come with making a podcast. We will start doing more live episodes again. Like, not every one of them will be a live episode, but we will try to actually do a lot more of those in the future then. If you do not want like a monthly subscription thing, you can always just do a one-time donation if you really want to, because we also have a paypal.me link available for that. Sadly, we cannot really connect that with Discord, so it can give you a special role automatically, but if you do wish to have your benefits, just give us a note either when you do a donation on PayPal or just by contacting either one of us. so we can actually make that happen. So you have access to all the special channels as well. But yeah, those are a lot of links that we through towards you, but we do also just have a website where you can like find a little bit more information about all of us and links to all these social things and Patreon things and PayPal things. And just to make your life a little bit easier than before, you can now just go to thisisgameboy.com. It will still just redirect to our old website, but it's a lot easier to type in your browser than our old URL. So yeah, just go to thisisgameboy.com.
Easy. Always making life easy for our listeners. I almost called them chat.
Yeah, that's hard.
Always. Yeah. And since we're approaching the holiday season, if you are looking for a great holiday gift, might I recommend asking for your person's YouTube account and then subscribing to our YouTube channel as well too. So we can get all those listens as well.
Yeah.
It's a really good holiday present. They would cherish it forever.
Yeah. So we can eventually grab that URL as well, actually, because now it's just some random numbers and letters. So it's not really useful.
Don't do that, by the way. It's against terms of service. Oh, man. Yeah. Telling people to do stuff to get their accounts banned. Love it. Like I said, pure entertainment on this podcast. So yeah, the next time they hear from us, we're going to be talking about Ninja Gaiden Shadow, or what is the actual real name of this game? Not Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden Shadow, Shadow Warriors in the EU.
Shadow Warriors,
and something else in Japanese.
It's not a Ninja Gaiden game.
Yeah, but it still is. So whatever.
It's. We'll be having a special guest, Enemy, on our next episode of This is Game Boy, talking about Ninja Gaiden Shadow or Ninja Warrior if you're European. So again, until next time, thank you all for listening.
Have a great Halloween.
And watch the marathon. I'm playing in it.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely stay inside because this year it's only COVID or treat, so...
Well, the trees are covered with COVID. So
yeah, it's COVID.
Now you can't just.
It's COVID or COVID. There you go. Just stay inside.
On this episode of This is Game Boy, we champion the... God damn it.